About where we are in terms of the cost of living crisis. We have the latest GDP figures, and in March our GDP fell by 0.1%. Over the last quarter, January, February, March, rose by just 0.8%. Let's face it, we're heading, as Bank of England said on Friday, to recession. We're looking at inflation currently at 8% for overall, but in terms of energy, fuel, food, the necessities of life, far, far higher and heading higher. We're now told that the Chancellor of Issues NAC is reported to be considering a windfall tax on energy firms, something Labour have been calling for a long time, and also even tax cuts for the rest of us to be announced before July. Would you welcome that?
Well, if there was one victor last week in the local elections, I hope it was the cut the cost of living party, because I do believe that we're facing a tsunami of people struggling with their bills. I see it in my own constituency of Harlow. I was speaking to a worker in a cafe. She's now working 7 days a week. She can't see her family because they can't afford to pay their bills otherwise. And she's doing the right thing. She's going out to work and doing everything possible to feed her family. And so I do believe that the government need to act on this. I've supported a windfall tax for some months now. Margaret Thatcher did it. The oil companies made £40 billion of profits. One oil boss is earning £76 million salary with a £4 million bonus. I mean, these people are the new oligarchs. They're ripping off motorists at the pumps by not reducing the oil price, the petrol price, when the oil price falls internationally. I think if we had a windfall tax, you'd raise a few £1 billion. You could either use that to cut energy bills or cut taxes for the
crucial thing is it can't be about a punitive tax on the energy firms. They've made a lot more money than they were expecting to make because of the massive price hikes of the firms that are actually producing that oil and selling it to the companies that then sell it on to us. But they've made a load of extra money from that. We've also had the chance of getting an extra 20 billion into his coffers from the VAT and all the other taxes that they get as a result of that as well. All that extra money swashing around, but we're not seeing the benefit from us. We're just taking the financial hit and they're getting the financial benefit.
Well, I do think, to be fair to the government, they have cut fuel duty by 5p, although again, some fuel companies not.
I'm so grateful. Please, can I have some more, sir?
They've also cut council tax. They've also tried to cut energy bills a little bit, but I'm arguing that they need to do a lot more. There's been a national insurance cut, a tax cut as well. There's a living wage rise, but this is just not enough because people are paying hundreds of pounds more on their energy bills. And what that means is it just feeds into maybe, God forbid, a recession, because people can't afford to go out. They can't afford to buy things in the shops because everything is about their energy bills and food bills and other things that are going up in price. And that's why I don't think a windfall tax is unreasonable. As I said, Margaret Thatcher did it. David Cameron did it. It's desperate times call for desperate measures. Even the oil companies themselves, I think it was BP, said it would not hurt investment in oil fields. They earn huge amounts of money. They're making whacking profits. I would rather use that money and redistribute it in tax cuts or energy bill cuts for the lower paid.
A lot of people are saying tax cuts, Steve. When you say lower paid, tax cuts always end up benefiting, you'd be kidding if you do something across the board, richer people more in terms of bringing down the marginal rate they pay. A lot of people are pointing out, as everyone's going to be suffering from this, it is people on the lowest incomes who spend the largest proportion of their outgoings on those necessities that have gone up so much, the energy, the fuel, the food costs, and that something targeted on them is vital. Is there a big issue here that we've got? And I try not to judge people. It's not anyone's fault if they got sent to a top private school or they grew up with money. And if they've been able to earn big money in the city and earn good money, I say all credit to them. But is there an issue that we've got an awful lot of people at the heart of government, whether it's the Prime Minister or the Chancellor and many others, that they've never, ever, ever had to worry about making ends meet? They've never lived in a home where, do you know what, can you not put the heating on? We can't afford it this week. They've never had to be in the supermarket and go, put that back, we can't afford it. They don't really understand how millions of people live in this country.
Well, just to paraphrase Martin Luther King, I don't tend to judge people by the content of their finances, but the content of their character. And we've had rich prime ministers in the past who have cut the cost of living for millions of people. I mentioned the government have done some things, but it's not enough. They've got to do a lot more. Again, to be fair to the government, you mentioned about the money sloshing around. We're still paying £80 billion to pay off the interest of the debt, not even the debt, the interest of the debt. The debt's over £1 trillion. So I recognise that the government have got very difficult decisions to make, because do they, if there is £20 billion sloshing about, do they use that to cut the debt? Because if we don't cut the debt, then inflation goes up, interest rates continue to go up, and we're spending money on debt rather than on public services, which everybody wants. We want money on our NHS and on our schools. But these are very difficult decisions. And the other thing, by the way, the government should do is they've got to get rid of the ridiculous green levies. Yep. 25% of our electricity costs are because of the green levies. Why on earth do they not scrap them? That would make a significant difference. During Brexit, the government promised to cut VAT on fuel. Boris Johnson did, Michael Gove did. They wrote articles in the Sun newspaper about it. Why don't they deliver on that? Yes, it's £100, roughly £100 on the energy bills, but it would make a significant difference. So there is more the government could do. They've just cut overseas aid by £4 billion. Why not use that to cut taxes for the lower paid or cut energy bills? So I'm not necessarily asking for more money, because I recognise the debt, the problem the government face, but there is money they find from the back of the Treasury sofa when they want to. They've just found over £1 billion to give to the Ukraine, which I support, by the way. I passionately support that funds and giving arms and our role helping the Ukrainians against the Russians. But we find £1 billion for that. So why can't we be imaginative and find billions of pounds to help the lower paid?
OK, thank you very much indeed for joining us. So that's Robert Halfon, Conservative MP. Emma Webb, social commentator, listening to all of that.